What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Today, I'm going to be showing off Henry Brand's Perth Regional Championship winning Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX box deck. It's a really creative deck and one of the last tournament winning decks we're ever going to see from this current Ultra Prism to Sword and Shield format. So a fascinating list. Really looking forward to showing it off. But before we do, wanted to shout out fullgripcodes.com. Make sure to check out fullgripcodes.com if you're looking for instant email delivery of all of your favorite PTCGO codes. We've got the website updated with a bunch of new codes, old codes, all sorts of stuff here. We got GX codes, random codes, mystery codes. A great selection here. Natalie's put in a ton of work to the website lately, so thank you so much to everybody. Supports fullgripcodes.com. We've also got a huge update to our catalog here at fullgripgames.com, including all of our board games now for sale online for delivery on fullgripgames.com. We also have a huge update to our Pokemon trading card game library, our sealed products specifically. We've got all of our sealed products on the website, as well as the Pokemon Vault. So you can check it out if you're interested in a huge investment piece. We've got these sealed vintage boxes all on our website now. Just wanted to shout that out as a excellent source for Pokemon trading cards. Make sure to check out fullgripgames.com and, of course, fullgripcodes.com for all your Pokemon trading card game online codes. Now, this deck is really cool and a ton of fun to play. It's got everything, so much going on in the list. So let's start to break it down. First of all, you're going to use Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX with the perfection ability to copy Pokemon's attacks out of your discard pile and from your bench. But instead of utilizing the Welder engine or Malamar's Psychic Recharge, like we've seen a lot of Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team decks do in this format, we're utilizing Solgaleo-GX and that Soul Burst GX attack to explode energy into play. Soul Burst GX allows you to search your deck for up to 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then shuffle your deck at the cost of 1 metal energy. Now you'll notice the text on that card, it says energy cards. So we can search for any kind of energy, including special energy. And as you'll see here, we play all special energy. 4 copies of Aurora energies, 4 copies of Rainbow energy, 2 copies of Unit energy, the water and grass and fire type, and 2 copies of Weakness Guard energy. So 10 energy in total, no, 12 energy in total, and all special energy that we can search out with that Soul Burst GX. So most games will start with a quick Soul Burst, but we have a lot of other options that we can pivot to. We also have an Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia-GX in the deck, so you can go turn 1 energy, turn 2 altered creation, and then play the deck like an ADP deck, which is really cool as well, taking bonus prizes, dealing 30 more damage, etc., etc. Now, if we're playing against Arceus, Dialga, Palkia ourselves, that is usually going to be the best strategy. If we go first, we could go turn 1 energy drop on Mewtwo, turn 2 Alter Creation GX, turn 3 use Bright Horns to knock out your opponent's Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, and take 4 prizes because of the fact that you used your own Alter Creation GX. So Xerneas Prism Star, a really unique inclusion in this deck. You can use the Path of Life ability, which reads, once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to become your active Pokemon, you may move any number of energy from your other Pokemon to it. And Bright Horns cost 3 Fairy energy, but we've got a whole bunch of Rainbow and Aurora energy in the deck, so it's pretty easy to get that energy requirement on to your Pokemon, move it all to Xerneas Prism Star, and take a 1-hit knockout on an opposing Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. Now, obviously, there is going to be some retaliation to your Xerneas Prism Star. You can take 4 prizes on an Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, then you get your energy wiped, and you're like, all right, what do? I just got all my energy taken out of play by probably a Zacian V. Fortunately, we've got Alolan Raticate-GX in the deck who can attack for free. With the Chuck Away attack, it does 40 damage times the amount of cards you discard from your hand. You can discard up to 2 cards from your hand to do the attack. So you can deal 80 damage for free. And if you have used Altered Creation GX, it's 110 damage. So theoretically, if you knock out an ADP with Xerneas Prism Star and take 4 prizes because of Altered Creation GX, you can use Chuck Away to take your final 2 prizes on a Jirachi or something like that. You can utilize Venusaur and Snivy-GX's Shining Vine ability to gust things up on your opponent's side of the field. It reads once during your turn. If this Pokemon's your active Pokemon, when you attach a Grass Energy card from your hand to it, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. And since it just says Grass Energy and not a basic Grass Energy, you can use any of the Aurora Energies, Rainbow Energies, or Unit Energies to qualify for that Shining Vine ability. So really cool synergy there. We've got a whole lot of other Pokemon in this deck to copy as well. Reshiram and Charizard, great for Outrage. It's one of the most used attacks you're going to use in this deck. Your Mewtwo will take a hit, and you could use Outrage to deal a ton of damage. But Flare Strike also situationally useful. Flygon-GX, one of the most crazy cards to use in this deck. You can use Desert Hurricane to deal 240 damage and discard a Stadium card. So great against Zacian V for just 3 energy. You got some really good, energy requirement to damage output ratio for the Flygon-GX. So really love that. And then Vileplume-GX, Massive Bloom does 180 damage for 2 energy. Pretty much can't beat that. It does deal 10 damage less for each damage counter on this Pokemon, but if your Mewtwo is fresh, then Massive Bloom is going to be hitting for huge numbers. And it's pretty easy to keep your Mewtwo fresh with Indeedee V in the deck. Watch Over allows you to heal 20 damage from your active Pokemon once during your turn, which is really good for playing against the Mimikyu that turns off Pokemon GX abilities when they have damage counters on them. So the Indeedee V, really good at keeping that Mewtwo clear of damage counters, especially damage counters that you place with your own Rainbow Energies. We also play Blastoise-GX in the deck for Rocket Splash. Does 60 damage times the amount of water energy you decide to shuffle in from your Pokemon. So it can easily deal 1-hit KO numbers after you Soul Burst GX. You're going to have usually 6 energy in play. 6 times 4, 24. If you decided to shuffle them. Actually, no, it's not 6 times 4. 6 times 6, 36. You would be dealing 360 damage and taking a knockout on just about anything that you needed to do. So Rocket Splash, great for the end of the game. If you have 4 energy in play, you can deal 240 damage. If you have 5, you're dealing 300. So that attack ramps very quickly. And then, of course, Mist Slash allows you to hit through the annoying Galarian Zigzagoon. So we have pretty much answers to everything in the deck. And one of the coolest things about this particular list is that you get to use the professor's research engine, and you don't have to rely on hitting Welder turn after turn in order to generate your attacks. You could just use the superior draw card, Professor's Research, and then we do have the Tag Call engine with a few other select Tag Call supporters to round the list out. The list is very explosive, a lot of fun to play, and I look forward to showing it off in some gameplay action ahead. Now, after streaming with this deck online a bunch, I have come to the conclusion I think the deck has a lot of very high-end potential. The damage cap for the deck seems pretty infinite. I mean, you pretty much have the Welder Mewtwo engine, but instead of Welders, you have Researches instead, so it should just draw better. But in my experience, it can just get kind of clunky and weird. We don't have Jirachis in the deck to smooth out the draw at all. It's just Dedennes and Researches. So sometimes when your deck is cooperating and drawing well, you can have a very phenomenal game and really just have answers to absolutely everything that you encounter. But there are definitely games where you're drawing really clunky and weird. So it's kind of a hot and cold deck. It is very fun to play and has a lot of very unique options that other decks do not. So for that reason, it is just a ton of fun. We are going to go in here, and I don't think that I want to slam this weakness guard energy down, so I think I'm just going to go for a Dedenne-GX, but first I'm going to get the Soul Burst Solgaleo-GX into the discard pile, so we're going to ship that. And data change, looking for potentially a different energy. I think we could go here, but I want to have the option to maybe alter creation in case I decide to do that. So we'll save our energy drop and instead go for this. So I like this a lot better. We've got the ADP, which I can put into the discard pile here. So I think we are just going to attach that, discard that, and then pass it on over to my opponent. And then I've got the Cherish Ball to go get myself another Dedenne, and we're going to continue drawing through the deck. So we'll see what it is that my opponent has got. The Chaotic Swell's very good in the Mewtwo deck to prevent incoming power plants, Shrine of Punishments, things like that against ADP. A lot of times they will rely on Shrine of Punishment to deal that extra 10 damage to get their 260 damage Brave Blade up to that 270 mark to take a knockout on your Mewtwo. Having the Chaotic Swell gives you a little bit of extra protection against that. It also prevents Power Plant, which is huge against Mewtwo, and huge against Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. We also have the Big Charms in the deck, which are very good for giving us that extra HP bump against Zacian V as well, since a lot of times they are going to be trying to math you out of the game just so. So we'll see what it is that my opponent is setting up. They got the Jirachi and Dedenne, so not a lot revealed here. I think it might be Pikarom. I think I saw Lightning and Metal on their deck types. And judging by that Electropower and Energy Switch, it's looking like that it is indeed Pikarom. So we can maybe just hope that they don't get the turn 1 full blitz. But judging by this opening hand here, I don't think that they're going to be doing that. No energy in the discard pile yet, and having to get rid of energy switches and switch. It's just not what you want to see, especially having to data change there without getting any lightning in the discard pile. Going to make it pretty tough. Chaotic Swell also makes it much more difficult for Pikarom to get that turn 1 full blitz, the elusive turn 1 full blitz, since you are blocking out their access to that Thunder Mountain Prism Star. So they're going to go in with Electromagnetic Radar, see if they can get themselves maybe a Pikarom, drop a Lightning onto it, and go from there. So I have to decide if it's going to be best to go for an Altered Creation GX, or if it's going to be best to go for a Soul Burst GX. Both of them seem pretty good at this point. I don't think that my opponent's going to be attacking, so it's a tough call. I don't think that I'm going to necessarily be able to get away with... I think if they don't full blitz, I think I can go Altered Creation GX, and then we can potentially try to knock out the Pikarom, for 4 prizes, and then just knock out a Jirachi for a game. That is certainly possible. And I think that they are so far away from knocking out my Mewtwo that we're probably just going to go for that play. So we're going to go into our deck, look for the Dedenne, and let's see. We've got the Venusaur Snivy in the deck. We've got Flygon in the deck as well. It's capable of taking a knockout. And we got Great Catcher and a bunch of switches. So we're really just hoping to hit the switch off of this. And we're going to save our bench space there. Now, the Zigzagoon does help against Pikarom. We can bring that into the range of... I mean, Flygon hits that number, though. We can hit 240 damage with our Flygon, so we don't necessarily need to. It brings it into the range of Flare Strike, but I don't necessarily think that we're going to need that. So we're just going to go for the switch. And we do find Switch and Research. And we got Wobbuffet, who is just huge. So I think like we pretty much shut this game down by going into, benching that Wobbuffet, and then just we can alter Creation GX, and they're probably going to have a pretty miserable time getting to attacking because they're not going to get to... See, I just want these guys, really. They're not going to get to use their Thunder Mountain or their Tapu Koko. So we're going to go in here with Research, just dig a little bit deeper. And we have the Great Catcher. So if I can get this next turn, yeah, let's just go ahead and get that Flygon into the disc. Well, I can't necessarily get the Flygon into the discard pile this turn. So we are just going to alter Creation GX. There it is. And give ourselves that nice little damage boost. And then we're going to knock out that Pikarom next turn. Hopefully if I can find an energy. Now I did... unfortunately, get that Guzma Hala into my discard pile, not thinking that I would necessarily need it. So we do need one more rainbow type style of energy in order to use that Flygon's attack. So my ideal turn next turn would be to Cherish Ball for Flygon, and then Great Catcher it away, bring up the Pikarom, and then take 4 prizes on that thing. And then if I can find my Alolan Raticate, we're just very close to taking game with one more knockout. I think it is going to just snowball into this situation where my opponent's deck's just not going to be able to compete with the pressure that we're putting forth with this Mewtwo and Mew deck. And the crazy thing about this list is that it gets to play a bunch of different ways. We can play as an ADP deck, as we see we're doing this game. We can kind of switch gears into that Arceus Dialga Palkia strategy and say, all right, I think based on what my opponent is doing, they're probably going to be a little bit slower to attack this game, so I can afford to be a little bit slower and play this Arceus Dialga Palkia strategy. Or I could say, okay, we need to go turn 1 Soul Burst GX, get 6 energy in play with my attachment and the Soul Burst for 5, and then take a big knockout the following turn. Now, they do miss the Electro Power. They had to get rid of 2 in that early end, so I was thinking that they might whiff it there. And we have got just about everything that we want here. We can go get ourselves Flygon-GX, and we're going to be dealing a ton of damage, so we can most definitely, let's see. I don't necessarily want to get rid of the Venusaur Snivy, but I think that we are just so fine that it doesn't really matter. We're going to get rid of these guys and bring up the Pikarom, and then I do have Switch into this Mewtwo, Tag Call, see if there's anything else that I need to get out of the deck. We're just going for one of my various Rainbow energies or Aurora energies in order to pull off this attack. That would be very good. I don't think that I necessarily need the Mallow and Lana in the deck anymore. So we're going to grab that, thin it out of the deck, and just research here to go for what should essentially be game. And we've got all our Rainbow energies here, as well as this nice big charm. So we'll do that, and then I'm just going to check the deck one more time, see if there's anything else I want to get in there. Yeah, the Vileplume-GX, very good. So we can discard that, puts the Aurora energy, and we're going to be using Dusty Hurricane for a ton of damage and discarding, yeah, Desert. Did I call it Dusty Hurricane? Yeah, I think it's got an ability Dusty something. And Desert Hurricane for a huge knockout. And it's really cool just like scrolling through. You're like, wow, I've got all these, various attacks I can use. Dealing 270 there and discarding the Chaotic Swell, finding Dedenne, Alolan Raticate, great, and they're saying well played. It's looking like that is basically game against my opponents there with the Alter Creation and the knockout with that Desert Hurricane. 4 prizes taken. They know that there's absolutely no way that they can come back from that, especially with the Wobbuffet there on the bench as well, preventing that Tapu Koko Prism Star from coming out, just absolutely crushing. We're going to run it back for one more and see how we do. Astro Cougar Man. All right, Astro Cougar Man. Let's see what you got in store for us. That is a slick hairdo you got there, my man. So we're going to be going second, probably, assuming that they choose to go first. No, they have chosen to go second. Ah, a wild choice. So we've got a pretty decent starting hand here with Cherish Ball and Quick Ball. We can go get ourselves any Pokemon we want out of the deck to put into the discard pile and Date Change, looking for an energy. And I'm curious to see what deck my opponent is piloting, where they have chosen to go second. Not many decks choose to go second in standard right now. So let's see what we can do. Let's start off with Cherish Ball. And I think, Solgaleo-GX, obviously a big card to get in the discard pile. We already got one in our hand, so we can just go get the Alter Creation GX. That way I kind of have the option to choose between those two. Those are the most notable starter, GX attacks for us. So we're going to get our Dedenne and then just put the Venusaur Snivy down and then Date Change, see what we can find in this next hand. Got to get rid of the Great Catcher, a little bit unfortunate. We did find an energy, so we have the option to Alter Creation GX next turn if we want to. And then we got Cherish Ball. We can get a bunch of these dudes into the discard pile. We can go get Raticates, which is fine. And we can go thin... let's see, maybe Blastoise or Dusty Defense out of our deck as well. We can go get this guy. Sure. Actually, I like Vileplume. You want to kind of get the cards that you're going to be ramping with. So you get all the 1 and 2 energy attackers into the discard pile first, and then you kind of just go from there. So we're going to just discard the Vileplume and then get ourselves, I think, another Mewtwo just to have it into play. And then next turn, we're just going for the Professor's Research. So I'm bracing for impact here. My opponent chose to go second. So They must have some sort of plan cooked up for what they plan on doing here. And they do have Mewtwo and Mew, so maybe they are going for, yes, a Horror House GX. Seems like it could be in order. Or they are playing a similar version of this deck, where they are going in maybe for a quick ADP. I have no idea. It's a blinged out Mewtwo deck. It's a welder Mewtwo deck. Potentially, there's fire energy. I really don't know. I really don't know, chat. There's there's an awful lot going on. Excuse me. In this list. So fire energies, Aurora energies, Arceus, Dialga, Palkias, Fiones, just the whole 9 yards here. So that is all pretty exciting. We're gonna just put our other Mewtwo up into the active position, and I don't think it's time to maybe go with the Venusaur and Snivy yet. And then we're looking at potentially trying to get ourselves an Altered Creation GX launched. But this is a Mewtwo and Mew deck, so they are going to be hitting me for weakness. So that is also very tough. I've got an energy drop on their Mewtwo. They weren't really able to capitalize on the fact that they chose to go. Yeah, second. So that works out for us, and it was very good. Now I can either go in with Altered Creation GX or I can Soul Burst. It feels like a time to Soul Burst here, especially since we do have Indeedee V. I mean, Indeedee V is even a pretty reasonable attacker against this deck because it just hits for Psychic Weakness. Very good. So I'm thinking we just like load up some energy into play with our Mewtwo and Mew and then go from there. I should be able to take some pretty pointed knockouts on their field. So that all feels pretty good. I'm gonna go with the Rainbow Energy here. And I think that we are just looking at a Soul Burst GX where I put a bunch of energy onto my dude. So let's just go with that. We're going to go here and wow, look at all those options. Soul Burst GX. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's great. And then I probably want a single weakness card energy as well. That seems good. At least one. There's only one in the deck. So it looks like it is definitively going to be one. And then we will attach those energies. So the Aurora energy can go to the active, and then I want to load the rest up on probably the bench. Another Aurora energy is fine. Another Aurora energy can go on the Indeedee. And the weakness card energy can go onto my bench Mewtwo. So nothing bad happens to it. So we kind of got this stockpile here on my bench of energy. And then 2 on the active. If it happens to go down to something that my opponent's got cooked up with their deck, that's fine. If they decide to start using Tag Purge eventually, I mean, that is a little bit tough for me since all my Pokemon are Tag Team Pokemon. But I do have the option to gust around it with Shining Vine. I also have the option to hit with Indeedee V. Psychic does go through Tag Purge. They could go for the Altered Creation GX this turn, which is probably what they're aiming for. If they do that, they're probably on a one-way ticket to Punish Town because we just take a pretty easy knockout on what they've got going on. I mean, I can Massive Bloom for knockout. I can Desert Hurricane for knockout. I could even mess around and maybe Ultimate Ray if I'm attacking with this benched one. I mean, we've got a lot of different ways to deal 300 damage to a Psychic Weak Mewtwo. So they do have to tread carefully and can't necessarily just throw that Mewtwo into the active position. Instead, they're just going to pass, which does give me the benefit of momentum. I mean, really, they are kind of building up towards this play and don't really have too much going on their side of the field. A bunch of Jirachis. So let's see what we can get our hands on. We've got Guzma Hala, which actually seems really good because I can go get myself. I'm going to go Guzma Hala and Cynthia Caitlin. Just go get myself the energy that I need. And the Air Balloon. Actually, I could just bring up that Mewtwo and knock it out this turn. So look how crazy this turn is. I'm going to Guzma Hala and get everything out of my deck. And we're going to discard these guys. You know what? These guys. That's fine. I don't need a Calyx Well. We get Air Balloon. We're going to get a Leaf Energy there. And we're going to get a Stadium. Cool. And then this play is gnarly. I love this. We put the Air Balloon here. You go switch. And then you switch into your Venusaur Snivy and you bring them out. And yes, we'd like to bring up Senor over here. And then you just retreat. And you just get that energy right on out of there. And we take the knockout. I mean, Massive Bloom should do it. Let's see. Yeah, I've got Massive Bloom. So we could just go lead with this one and just do, yeah, I even get to heal. Wow, watch over. Don't be bad. And then, yeah, we'll go Massive Bloom for knockout with the weakness on our side as well, taking a huge KO with our Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. And using the Venusaur and Snivy effectively as well, Guzma and Hala piecing the whole thing together, which makes that Venusaur and Snivy just really strong. And I think we saw how good that card can be in that last match. 2 short games, so we'll go for one more versus the Wishmaster 78. So we got to see a little bit of both strategies in action there. One game we go Ultra Creation GX, one game we go with the Soul Burst. And it is cool to see all the different moving parts of this deck and the reasons for them. We even got to use the Wobbuffet against Pikarom, which is so good. I mean, a lot of decks are not expecting you to drop that Wobbuffet. It was a card that saw play in the fall and really fell out of style once Pikarom started to see less and less play. But let's see what we could do. Definitely want to get a turn 1 energy drop, so we're probably going to churn through this and look for an energy. I mean, this is one of those decks where every energy counts and really does matter quite a bit. So we're just going to get those guys out of the deck. Looks like I prized my Venusaur and Snivy Tag Team GX, which is big sad, but that's okay. I do have Solgaleo-GX in my hand, so we can get probably the next most important guy into the discard pile, being the Raticate, which is good for us. And then we're just going to Dedenne change and see where this hand goes. Unfortunate that we have to get rid of so many switches, but it's fine. So we'll Dedenne change. 3 Dedenne in the deck. Such an explosive deck here. And looking for one of our... Hello, go to the bench, please. One of our energies. And we do find one. So good looking hand. I like this. And then I did just discard 2 switches, so kind of just want to put this one onto the active. That feels fine. And then I think we're just going to discard one of those researches and then pass to my opponent, see what they do. Next turn, it's either Ultra Creation or Soul Burst. We'll kind of see what they got going on and how fast they're escalating the game. If they are really putting forth a lot of pressure, then I'll probably go with the Soul Burst GX and just put a bunch of energy into play and try to sweep the rest of the game that way. If they are a little bit slower to start, then we're going to try and take advantage of that to Ultra Creation GX again and go for that wing condition. That 2-prong strategy really does make up most of your games. The one thing, like I said, that's a little bit sketchy about this deck is the fact that you have a tag team Pokemon promoted at almost all points in the game. So any deck that you're playing against that can easily vanquish a tag team Pokemon or easily knock out Pokemon GX or trade favorably with them seems a little bit sketchy to play against with this deck. But that being said, we do have that, it's just the fact that we could Ultra Creation GX. So if we are playing against a non-GX deck, we have that kind of in our back pocket as a possibility to, to do something against those non-GX threats. Now, it looks like this might be a Zacian ADP deck. I'm not exactly sure. They got Marnies, they got Lysandre Labs, and sure enough, there is the ADP and the Guzma Hala. So a lot of times against ADP decks, we do want to go for the Altered Creation GX so that then we can swing in with our hero, Xerneas Prism Star. So I do need to check the deck, make sure the Xerneas Prism Star is in the deck, but we do see that ADP coming down in the Zacian. So they're going to start to get set up there, and I do feel good about going first because we're going to be able to get that first Ultra Creation GX launched, which is really important for this matchup. Pretty much can decide the entire game. So we'll go with our Calyxwell, and let's see, I got, the homies are all in the discard pile. I just do need to find a water energy or metal energy or something of the sort. So we'll put our Air Balloon here, and we're definitely just discarding that weakness card energy and going forward. So let's see, we find, yes, Guzma and Hala. Gonna get us just about everything we want out of the deck. So that's good. We can, we actually kind of already have everything that we want, so I don't really need to do too terribly much. Guzma and Hala is probably fine to play. Discard the Blastoise and just go get some more energy out of my deck and get a Big Charm, another energy, and a stadium. There are no more stadiums, so sure, we'll go get those things. And then it is just going to be here, and then might as well put the big charm on. We're going to go Ultra Creation GX. So it just gives me a big boost in damage outputs. Now, I would love to have a draw card here. We did, unfortunately, discard one of my researches early on. Wasn't expecting the turn 1 Marnie coming out of my opponent, but we did get our hand limited. So we'll see what they bring up. Now, we could go, let's see, Rocket Splash, 6 times 6. Yeah, that's not going to be enough ever with 3. With 3 energy, I've already GX'd. We could Sunsteel Strike for 260. That's not going to get us there either. So we're very close to being able to knock out an ADP, just not quite, which is one of the reasons why that Xerneas is so good. And we really wish we had that Xerneas now, but like I said, sometimes you just get yourself into these really awkward hands with this deck, and you would think that it would happen less because of the fact that we played just this really explosive Dedenne research engine, but with no other pivots like Jirachi or anything else. You can kind of just get stuck in these hands where you're just waiting on a top deck. There's not even any, custom catchers in the deck or anything like that to help you kind of turn the deck along. You either have a way to, dig with Dedenne, or you have a supporter card, or you're just sitting here passing and waiting for the top deck. There's not really any other way to draw. Now, granted, there's a lot of Pokemon Search in the deck. We got Quick Balls, we got Cherish Balls, we've got Dedennes, we've got 4 copies of Research. But, like I said previously, without that Jirachi, the Jirachi is a little bit of a safety net to be able to pivot behind, just in case your hand isn't quite right, and does give you that little bit of extra flexibility and defense as well against cards like Reset Stamp and Marnie. So, we'll see what my opponent has got going on here. They got the Shrine, okay, but I had Swell to protect, so I am out of stadiums now. And they do have the Ultra Creation GX, and we do not have too much going on ourselves. So we can't really chuck away. Can't really Rocket Splash. I can Ultimate Ray. That seems like our best bet. So we can Ultimate Ray for 180. That is very sketchy. We really wish there's a Vileplume-GX in the discard pile. That'd be good. I do not want to... Ultimate Ray seems fine. So we can put the weakness card energy there, and that actually does allow us to Ultimate Ray, which is pretty good. Hyper Fang. Whew. Hyper Fang. No. Yeah, so we'll Ultimate Ray. And then if we do get hit this next turn, yeah, nothing in that deck, huh? If we do get hit this next turn, let's see, I got 2 researches left in the deck, a Tag Call and a Cynthia Caitlin. Like I said, there's not really a lot of cards to dig us out of this dead hand, right? We've used Day Change twice. Discarding that research was tough, but I mean, ultimately, can't necessarily blame that on the fact that I'm in a hand without a draw card right now, because couldn't have known that I was about... even if I got those shipped to the bottom of my deck with Marnie, I wasn't drawing back into those researches anyway, so tough situation to be in. And we'll see. With the big charm, we do have a little bit of protection against that Zacian, though, so that definitely helps. And there is a possibility that I was going to say that maybe they Marnie me, but it looks like they're just going to research instead, discarding another Saucer, so we could be okay. I am getting a little bit more time. My opponent is getting off to kind of a slow start. The Shrine of Punishment, definitely scary, but if they hit into me for 260 damage, then I go to 270. Eventually, it'll be the Shrine, which KOs me, and that means that they have 3 more prizes to take. So that's probably okay. And if they do hit me with the Zacian, I can always just outrage back for 3 prizes and put myself in this situation where I can potentially take out an ADP. And it looks like they may just come on in with that Arceus Dialga Palkia. If they do that, I mean, then I really do have a pretty decent route to be able to win the game. Because all I have to do is knock out one of these Jirachis for the match, which would be very good. I do have the option to chuck away for free, which is great, but I think my Venusaur Snivy is prized. So that is the rough thing about this. Now, looking at this Arceus Dialga Palkia, I wish I could attack into it with this. So if I had a switch, that would be ideal, because then I could take the... Wow, looks like they're going to Great Catcher. So they might take a knockout with Dedenne-GX. Okay, and then they're going to put themselves to just 4 prizes remaining. So then if they get Great Catcher on one of my Mewtwo's here, that is obviously going to be very good for them, because they would be able to take a knockout on this one, which has the balloon on it. It's going to be at 260 health. So we're kind of just crossing our fingers and hoping that they don't have Gust on this Mewtwo here for game. Or the Dedenne. Any Gust, any Fion, anything just can win them the game at this point. So that is very scary. Now, we do have Xerneas here, who is an interesting option. And no, it cannot take a knockout. I need 3 actual rainbow energies on the thing in order to do Xerneas. So I can't do Xerneas. And I can't attack with this active Mewtwo and Mew. And then this thing will end up getting KO'd as well. So I think I'm just out of the game completely at this point. I have nothing to draw, nothing to do. And I think if I chuck away, you know, for knockouts, if I had the Flygon-GX in the discard pile, I could maybe discard the Stadium. But I don't think that any of it is going to be enough. We just don't have enough fairy energy in play to use the Xerneas. And I have no way to discard that Stadium from play. Just looking over my options again, I think that's probably just going to be it. So yeah, just a very weird draw here with the deck. And I think the deck is good. But like I said, your draws can just be strange. And then you get yourself into these games where you just can't really win. So that is unfortunate. And we're just going to have to Ultimate Ray again, take that knockout, and that's just going to be game, because my opponent will get the Shrine Tick here. I think it's game, right? Or is it? It's 10 damage shy. We got the Venusaur Snivy. I'm not going to count my chickens. Let's see. So I am notoriously bad at math. So we'll see what ends up happening here. I go to, what? So 280 hit points remaining. They hit me for 170. Oh, I guess I do live with 10. But they got the double custom catcher, so it literally does not matter. And yeah, so that ends up being that game. All in all, I think that the Mewtwo and Mew deck operated just as I had described it, right? I think sometimes the deck can be very explosive, and you get these really crazy knockouts, and the high-end potential of the deck is very high. I do find myself dead drawing with the deck more than I would like. So I think that the deck, definitely a strong deck, very creative and a lot of fun to play because of all of the various options that we have at our disposal. But when you do take a look at the list, I mean, we only got 4 researches. In that game, we prized 1, I believe. And then we got our 3 Dedennes, and that's just it. That's the whole draw engine of the deck. So sometimes when you get stuck, you just stuck. Other than that, the draw engine should be sufficient. I mean, welder decks certainly operate with less. So you would think that that it should be sufficient for a deck to operate. But the welder decks a lot of times are playing the Jirachi engine now, so they do have that as kind of a added backbone. All in all, though, definitely a solid deck. Won the Perth Regional Championships, so it is one of the last, if not the last, Regional Championship winning deck that we are going to see from this Ultra Prism 2 Sword and Shield format. And for that, it definitely goes down in history as a significant deck. So very cool, and kudos to Henry Brand for coming up with the concept and winning a tournament with it. That's going to be it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and of course, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where we stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday. Also, make sure to support the shop at Full Grip Games, fullgripgames.com, as well as fullgripcodes.com for instant PTCGO code delivery. Y'all take it easy and have a great day. I'll catch you on Twitch. Peace.